I call the meeting to order at 5:59. The first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the last meeting, March 14th.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor? The next order of business is discussion with Waste Management regarding their new proposed treatment facility. You want it? Yeah.
Good evening and thank you. Everybody here knows me. I'm Jeff McGowan, the facility manager. Sherwood McKinney to my right is the facility and engineer for our operations in Maine. Next over is Ty Corno, who is with our team. Ty Corno is a waste management employee, works throughout New England and the East Coast, helping us with developments of these projects. And next is Denise Wessels, who's with SCS Engineers, who's leading the project for us. With that, I will turn it to Denise.
Yeah, if you could pull up the presentation. Yes. So again, I'm Denise Wessels with SCS Engineers. We're the engineer leading the design for this project. And go ahead. So just to give a little background on the current leachate management operations, the site generates about 25 million gallons per year of leachate. And historically, that's been hauled to one of two places, either Sappi or Anson-Madison Sanitary District. And then in October 2022, Sappi no longer will accept leachate from Crossroads due to concerns with PFAS. So at that point, Waste Management was limited to one site, Anson-Madison, and was looking for other facilities to be a backup and was unable to identify any other locations also due to PFAS concerns. So at that point, decided on doing some sort of PFAS treatment at the facility to deal with the environmental issue of PFAS and then also be able to provide and find a backup wastewater treatment plant. And if you're familiar with the site, the proposed location is right next to the existing storage tanks that are at the facility. And the next slide is a zoom in of that location. So currently there are two storage tanks, a 948,000 gallon storage tank and a 91,000 gallon storage tank. And so currently leachate is taken to that tank and then hauled out by a tanker truck. So the proposed project is to build a building that will house a treatment system, and the leachate will go from the 948,000 gallon tank into the treatment system and go back and go from the treatment system into a proposed new 500,000 gallon storage tank. And then the piping will be provided so that the leachate will still be hauled out from the same truck loadout facility, and there will be two pipes. So there's still the option of loading out the leachate as it is and also treated leachate. There'll be separate pipes, but they both are going to the same leachate loadout station. So you can go ahead and go forward. This is just an overall site plan. It's a little bit hard to see, but I just wanted to reference that this is in the application. So there's full-size drawings within the application that show this facility. So this one, you can see the rectangle at the bottom right-hand corner is the proposed building. And the circle at the top is the proposed storage tank. And then there's a small little, you can kind of see the call out, there's a small little shed that's needed to house some new electrical panels to operate pumps and things like that.
Yeah.
Right there, yes, thank you. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So just to give a little history to how we got from where we were to where we are now is that some pilot studies were completed at the site during 2022 and 2023. And one of the technologies for treating PFAS is called foam fractionation, and they found that that was successful. It's a very sort of low tech technology in that all you do is bubble water or bubble air through the leachate, and the PFAS constituents stick to the outside of the bubbles. You collect all those bubbles and reconcentrate it. So then the treated leachate, as I said, will go to the new storage tank and will continue to be hauled to Anson-Madison, and then hopefully once this system is in place, they can also identify some other backup facilities. And in third quarter last year, SES, along with a company called ECT2 is the designer for the foam fractionation process. So they're designing all the equipment that goes inside the building, and then SES is doing everything around the outside of that. The building and the grading and the piping in between. And the other thing I wanted to note is that this system is designed to accept condensate from the biosolids processing facility that was previously approved by the board. And the piping is provided that that condensate can either go, it can be treated or not treated. It can go to the existing storage tank and go through the treatment plant, or it can go, if it doesn't have PFAS, it'll go to the new tank and it can be filled out directly. Because the data to date suggests that it will not have PFAS, but we want to be ready just in case. As far as utilities for the project, we do need a water well, and that's only for the bathroom, and for providing water to like wash down the floor. So there would be a groundwater well installed. We need a sanitary sewer septic system. And just want to point out that that will not get any leachate. That's only to handle the septic from the bathroom, and any industrial liquids like the leachate, or if they wash down the floor, their floor drains, that all goes back to the leachate storage tank. So everything will be separate between sanitary wastewater and industrial wastewater. And then power, electrical power will be provided by CMP. And our schedule at this point is we're planning to begin construction in the summer. That's pending, of course, approval from the board. And then also there's a permit application in with the Maine DEP that we've received comments on, and we expect to get that permit pretty soon. And if all goes according to plan and we can start construction before Maine winter happens, then we would be in operation in early 2025. This is just showing the estimated square footage. This is in the application itself, and this is the square footage we use to come up with the fee, the permit fee. And just zooming in on the building, I wanted to show that it's kind of hard to see, but again, this drawing is in the application itself, but the sort of very light blue hatching is erosion control blanket, and then the green lines are silt sock. So this is our erosion sedimentation control plan, and the limited disturbance is outlined in red. So with that, I would just open up for questions. That's a pretty high level overview, but I didn't want to get into too much detail, and just really wanted to answer the questions that, you know, focus in on what you guys have questions on.
Can I add just a little background information for everybody? We, for as long as I've worked here, which is 32 years this year, we've always gone to SAP. And through some challenges of spreading sludges in the area. We know there's no longer spreading of sludge, treatment plant sludge and what have you on farm fields because of contaminations. So Sappy, I believe, is named in one of those suits, and that's why we were eliminated from going. 100% of our leachate right now goes to Anson Madison. We had 2 catastrophic floods, one in December of last year, one in January of this year. We got through it without incident. We were able to hold leachate and then ship within 24 hours, which is lucky. But by us putting a facility in, it allows us to open up potential other lanes of travel to dispose of the product, whether it be potentially KSTD in Waterville or Augusta, or other places close by, hopefully. But it's just sometimes difficult to have all of our options in one place. And we have a great, outstanding relationship with Anson Madison. They're doing something very similar to us. So we may treat and go to another place that continues to treat or not treat. But it just makes good sense for business practices to have options. So that's why we're pursuing it. Should be, say simple, but it should be a simple, we're not being required to do it. It's a company directive to move forward with, get ahead of the curve.
I have a couple of questions, just in reviewing the description, but one is that when you mentioned about having the option of either treating it or not treating it, depending on if it had PFAS in it. Who decides that, or how is that determined? Like, is there a mechanical something option that, I mean, or if somebody's testing it, or how?
We might decide that running our facility, well, we're gonna have 2 tanks. We'll have a treated tank and we'll have potentially a non-treated tank. And we might make the financial decision that by shipping to Anson Madison, that's going to duplicate what we're doing, and it might save us money, become more cost effective to not process for periods of time.
So it's not necessarily that it's not contaminated, it's just that your choice may be to have
Send
it treated.
untreated product.
Untreated, okay. I took it like maybe it was not contaminated, and that's what, and I wondered how you were gonna determine that, what was and what wasn't, but it all is.
Well, they'll be testing, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple different avenues here. So you've got our site leachate, it's coming directly from all our landfills. We fully expect that PFAS in it.
Yeah.
And it will need to be treated unless, like Jeff said, we have the ability to pump up raw leachate if, say, another facility is also treating for PFAS in the future. The biosolids processing facility, they're going to produce a significant amount of condensate.
Right.
Their research shows that the PFAS stays with the biosolid, the solid part of it. It's not within the liquid itself. Now, we need to prove that, we need to show that through testing. But if that's the case, then it won't need to be treated.
Okay.
And like Denise said, we can send it directly to the proposed 500,000 gallon effluent tank that has already got liquid in it that's been treated.
Okay. The only other question that I had in reading the description, project description, was it mentions that the heated air from the fomate concentrator tanks is vented outside the building. Is that what range or odor or any contamination? Is there any issue with that? Or
I know
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be asking
Yeah.
you with that.
The group is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we did we looked at the leachate testing. There are no volatile organic compounds in there, which is something that would emit to the atmosphere. And we did emission estimates, like super worst case. And
Yeah, I saw the air quality.
yeah, and we reached out to Maine DEP and they agreed that air permitting was not necessary.
So there's no issue with what's being vented outside.
Correct, it's the same thing that is being vented now
Okay.
from the storage tanks.
I think that's all the questions I have. Do we want to ask about the additional map, the site?
They're gonna withdraw or replace.
So I know one of the maps wasn't correct in the site, that showed the site, it showed phase 14 rather than the actual site of the, is that right?
Yeah, in the application, there were 2 tax maps that were 5 years old, and they showed phase 14 plotted on them. So the question is, does the application wish to withdraw that, leave it, or create a new tax map with this location cited on it? This is in conjunction with a 5-year-old abutter list.
I guess that depends on which one gets us the permit the quickest.
It would be replacing it with a new map.
Okay.
That's what we
Is that-
do.
Yeah.
So, do we want to make,
The individual at the firm took a screenshot of an online tax map and sent that to me, with again, an incomplete abutter list. And believe that pacified the requirements of the application. There were like 25 or 30 abutters that were in that submission, when in actuality, there's 90 something.
And
So
what-
I have taken care of that for you, as a professional courtesy. But not pleased. I conveyed that. With mailings are ordered, we will be able to get those out to you.
so do we want to make a motion to say the application is complete pending receiving that corrected map?
I'll make that motion. I'm game for seconding.
Okay, all in favor? The next thing we probably want to do is talk about scheduling a public hearing. Everybody's in agreement?
Motion to schedule a public hearing.
Make a motion for a public hearing. I hope we get more participation. We did the last time
Mm,
to go through that. Can we ask the waste management what they think of it?
Having a public hearing,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessary, but,
I agree, but this is kind of battlefield.
I'm not in complete agreement with you, John. Some parts of what we do is definitely a battlefield, I get that, and we do these things out of respect to the public, so that we, any questions that people have the opportunity to get answered. I agree with you. This is a small building that's an addition to an existing process. I don't characterize that as a battlefield
No,
personally. I think this is in addition to an already approved process that enhances it. Whether we have a public hearing or not, that's totally at the pleasure of the board. I don't. To be one of the first companies in this region to be responsible and treat PFAS, aside from the areas that Richard said, and I respect that, and in the map and the butters list, there's an oversight on somebody's part. I'm sorry that happened, but should be applauded what we're doing.
I agree.
I agree.
But I guess that's, again, the pleasure of the board. to think that, a public information meeting is exactly that, a chance to share information on things. A lot of the process has usually been positive or negative, and this should be 100% plus positive of what we're trying to do to better enhance what we all throw away that makes PFAS. But that said, I struggle with a bad feeling on this one.
I think the concern is more with the fact that I don't think there was a lot of public knowledge as to this project coming to the board ahead of time. So we thought that it might give the public a chance to, if not attend, at least watch as we go through the, review this criteria and approve it step by step. And we could do that right at the same meeting.
Information is a great thing. I'm not saying no to that by a long shot. And you know, as far as holding the project up, I don't think that's a big challenge either. It's day after tomorrow, next month, or whatever. Pleasure of the board. We support whichever route you go.
Gene alluded to maybe the right answer. We have to send a notice of application anyway.
Sure.
So if we do that, which maybe councils, the board has already drafted, it would be a joint notice of application and public hearing. And you could have a meeting where we start with a public hearing if there's members of the public present. People will have access to this video today. And if there are folks here, then we take the 7 or 8 minutes and go through that presentation again. And if people have comments, then
Is that something we could potentially do at the July meeting?
that's, I think, run
That's what we're
simultaneous
thinking.
with
That was my
the
question.
review. Start it off and then the
Yeah.
board, if they were ready, they could begin the review.
Would that be voted on at that meeting?
Yes,
Approval or denial?
Yeah. okay.
Yes.
yes, yeah.
So we have to get to a third one?
No, that would be it, just the next meeting. we
The
have to
applicant
do
and the
it.
townspeople both are entitled to due process.
Yeah, I
So
realize
if you're
that.
trying to rush this through in a
No,
second
no.
meeting, I would advise against it. I think that the board knows how to work through materials. And if everybody's had their packets and reviewed it, it's thorough. I think that with council, with the applicant.
There's nothing here to rush through. That's not.
I think the only other question we had was escrow, is that right?
So you had a motion to schedule a public
Oh, I'm
hearing,
sorry,
which you didn't have a second.
I can't second it. Okay, I'll second it. Okay, all in favor? And the public hearing will be on July 11th at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Absolutely.
Escrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have an amount that we feel should be
I think $1,000 is fair.
is fair? Okay,
That's what's allowed from the ordinance.
okay. And we have that already, so we're all good with that. Okay.
Still should be a motion for the board.
Motion for it, okay. I make a motion to the board to require $1,000 in escrow.
I'll second it.
All in favor? There's no public comment? No? Any? I shouldn't say it that way, no? Okay. Any other business? I think I.
Sorry, there is one other item, and that is that we're gonna need to send notices. And the ordinance allows the latitude of sending in certified mail or first class.
Okay.
Obviously, a great discrepancy between the cost of certified and the cost of first class. And it's honestly an additional obstacle to a lot of folks to get certified mail because they have to go to the post office to retrieve it, or they have to be home. And then we would get it back probably 2 weeks after if it's the regular meeting. I feel like if you sent the first class, it's more likely to get in folks' hands.
Okay.
But and it would obviously save the applicant almost tenfold. So if that was agreeable, the board could vote to, by which method to send them. So it's something communication. First class is certified.
Make a motion, first class?
I second it. All in favor? The other business, order of business, we were gonna talk about ordinances, but I think, maybe we should table that until a later date when more members are here, or present.
Ben, did you have anything to add, questions?
Two things. I guess the first, only on the question of the proper way to mail notice of the public hearing, Richard, I want to clarify with you, in looking at your site plan review ordinance in section L2, talking about notice of the time, place, and date of the public hearing, it seems to identify that certified mail has to be used for abutting property owners. I don't want to be the stickler, but also want to make sure that there's no argument that proper notice wasn't given.
So if the board withdraws their motion to hold a public hearing, but holds a public comment on the application at the start of the next meeting, the notice of application could go first class? I mean, it's
The
a
notice
valid-
of application can go first class. The notice of public hearing, I'm not sure why your ordinance makes a distinction, but it also does give the board the option and not the obligation to hold a public hearing. So if that's where the distinction is coming from, I'm happy, with both of those to be sent by first class mail. I just want to make sure we were talking about the same thing. So the idea is that the combined notice would be one of the filing of the application and the public hearing, and that's going to be sent by first class.
Mhm.
Okay. That's fine. And then just for the board's knowledge, what I'm going to do in advance of the July 11th hearing is put together proposed findings for you to review also. So from my perspective, the way I would see it unfolding is you have your public hearing as the first item on the agenda. And then after that, I'll just have a document available to lead you through the specific review criteria under site plan review. It'd be very similar to what you had done for previous iterations or previous projects on this property. You'll review all of those and be encouraged, of course, to make edits as you see fit. And then you'll have everything in line to both accept findings of fact and make a final determination on the application at your next meeting in July.
Thank you.
But that's it. That's all I have.
I have a question while he's on there. This is really not to do with this, but it's got to do with the planning board. I was looking through the rules and regulations. It says that voting, people that are absent should have a letter preferably notarized that they're not at these meetings when they go to vote, that they are familiar with the material that's been gone over and so forth.
Is that in your planning board rules and
Yeah.
regulations?
And it says they're supposed to be present at the voting, but I wonder if that got all snarled up in COVID or whatever.
I may have.
But I mean,
Jean's gonna obviously take a point with Ben to coordinate if there's anything. Would you like her as a board to look at that?
yeah, I reckon.
So just so I'm clear, I'm looking at your rules and regulations for the planning board. The question is about the requirement for in-person attendance. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, not being here, just when we have a public hearing, and then when it comes time for the vote, like this meeting, a public hearing, then the vote comes, and no one's been, someone's not been here, but they have a vote on the thing anyways. What I read in that thing said was that you're supposed to have a letter, preferably notarized, that you're familiar with what they've been talking about. That ain't the real word for it. But if they just come on Zoom and vote yes or no and haven't attended anything.
So a situation where a member of the planning board wasn't present for all of the meetings where an application was discussed.
Yeah.
So
then-
I can speak generally to that. I mean, I'm not aware, although I'm gonna try and search your document quickly while I'm speaking, but it is true that, when, when a board is reviewing a particular matter, it's customary to ensure that if you're going to vote on a particular matter, that you've been present for all of the meetings where that matter's been discussed. It's not required, though. The other option would be, although I think it's ideal for everybody to have been at all the meetings, a board member could state on the record at the second meeting, for instance, if they had missed the first one, that they had reviewed all of the materials that were submitted and reviewed the tape from the previous meeting, and that they believe they were up to speed. The notarization requirement is, I haven't seen that before. Certainly, if it's in your rules, then perhaps perhaps that should be looked at particularly, but I agree with you specifically that unless somebody is familiar with all of the things that have happened previously, that it's best to abstain from a vote if you as a member of the board or any member of the board haven't been present for all of the prerequisite meetings.
So already we've lost, we got this one, if we have public hearing, I mean, have got all the information tonight, so the next one, they would, is this meeting here no good for the information that they already gave? I mean, is this one just,
Well, I'll leave it up to the applicant. I mean, they'll certainly have the option to provide all the same information for the members of the public that they did for you today. They certainly did a good job of presenting the high points. But like I said, if you have additional members of your board who attend the public hearing and attend your deliberations in July, if they are able to state on the record that they have reviewed the materials that were submitted, and that they've reviewed what you've discussed tonight, then I wouldn't have a problem from a due process standpoint, unless an objection was raised by the applicant, that they'd be able to participate in the final vote on that application. So it's not a hard and fast rule. It's more a way of ensuring that the people who are making the decision, so all the members who are voting from the planning board, have the same basis of knowledge and information, and that you don't have a situation where somebody who has no idea what had happened previously and hasn't reviewed anything is making a vote on an application. We want to avoid that.
Any other business? I adjourned.
6:33.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
we don't do nothing, it's only below.
Thanks, everyone.
We're good.